10 missing after U.S. Navy ship and oil tanker collide off Singapore. 10 Navy sailors were missing and 5 were injured on Monday after a United States destroyer collided with an oil tanker off the coast of Singapore, the Navy said, the second accident involving a Navy ship and a cargo vessel in recent months. The guided missile destroyer, the John S. McCain, was passing east of the Strait of Malacca on its way to a port visit in Singapore at 5:24 a.m. local time, before dawn broke, when it collided with the Al-Nikmak, a 600-foot vessel that transports oil and chemicals. The Navy said that destroyer was damaged near the rear on its port, or left-hand, side. 10 sailors on the ship were unaccounted for, and 5 others were injured, a Navy official said. Ships with the Singapore Navy and helicopters from the assault ship America were rushing to search for survivors. 4 of the injured were transported by a Singapore military helicopter to Singapore, where they were being treated for conditions that were not believed to be life-threatening. The 5th injured sailor did not require additional medical attention, according to the 7th Fleet. While the collision involved a Navy vessel and a commercial tanker, the incident highlighted the geopolitical dangers surrounding the South China Sea, where China has been challenging American naval dominance. It also raised questions about the safety record of Navy ships, since the incident came just 2 months after 7 people were killed when another Navy destroyer collided with a freighter off Japan. A photo of the John S. McCain showed a gaping hole in its side right at the water line, but the ship did not appear to be listing. In a statement, the Navy said the destroyer had reached Changi Naval Base in Singapore. Significant damage to the hull resulted in flooding to nearby compartments, including crew berthing, machinery and communications rooms. The statement said, damage control efforts by the crew halted further flooding. The Al-Nikmak is registered under a Liberian flag and was built in 2008, according to a marine registry. The tanker, which is now anchored in Singapore for damage assessment, had been struck on the front part of its hull, but none of its crew were injured, according to a statement from the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore. No oil leaks have been reported in the area, according to the Singaporean authority. The Strait of Malacca, between the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian island of Sumatra, is notoriously difficult to navigate because of congested traffic and episodes of piracy over the years. It's always crowded, with ships entering Singapore and others passing by, said Shigeru Koyama, advisor of the Japan Captains Association. This is one of the top most difficult spots for ships going by. Navy ships frequently transit the strait, said Commander Clay Doss, a spokesman for the 7th Fleet, with which the John S. McCain is deployed. It's not unusual at all, he said. Bonji Ohara, a research fellow at the Sasakawa Peace Foundation in Tokyo, said that one recurring problem was that while naval ships tended to have live crews on watch, most commercial ships work on autopilot mode to reduce costs, which can lead to problems in busy sea lanes. Nighttime duty on Navy ships like the John S. McCain is often in the hands of relatively young officers, between 22 and 24. According to a senior Navy officer, they are backed up by officers working the radar and looking out from the command center below the bridge. For the John S. McCain to have hit the Al-Nikmak, a handful of separate functions in the safety chain must have failed, the officer said. Commercial tankers can be reluctant to shift their course because maneuvering requires turning off the autopilot and costs time and money, the officer added. The Al-Nikmak has a gross tonnage roughly 3 times that of the John S. McCain. The Strait of Malacca is a strategic choke point between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Much of Asia's oil imports transit through the channel and into the South China Sea, which is home to territorial disputes among China and various other claimants and is a flashpoint of military tensions between the United States and China. China has transformed islands it controls in the South China Sea into fortified artificial islands, even as an international tribunal last year dismissed Beijing's claims to much of the waterway. President Trump, asked about the collision by reporters at the White House, said, "That's too bad." He later offered his thoughts and prayers to the sailors aboard the ship. The Navy conducts periodic forays through contested waters, though the United States has no territorial claims in the South China Sea. Its allies do. Earlier this month, The Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the United States after the John S. McCain sailed by a disputed South China Sea island that China controls and has expanded through extensive reclamation. On the destroyer's Facebook page, the ship's activities earlier this month were described as a patrol in the South China Sea in support of security and stability in the Indo-Asia-Pacific region. The collision came 2 months after one of the Navy's deadliest accidents in years, when another destroyer, the Fitzgerald, collided with a freighter off Japan. 7 people on the Fitzgerald were killed, and the Navy relieved the destroyer's 2 top officers of their duties on Friday after an investigation into the collision. That freighter was 728 feet long. A preliminary report on the June 17 accident described how seawater poured through a hole in the Fitzgerald's hull within 90 seconds, sending sailors racing from their floating quarters. Both of the destroyer's top commanding officers were asleep when the collision occurred. In May, the Lake Champlain, a Navy-guided missile cruiser, collided with a South Korean fishing vessel, but no injuries resulted from that crash. In February, another such cruiser, the Antietam, ran aground in Tokyo Bay, gushing more than 1,000 gallons of hydraulic fluid near the American naval base at Yokosuka, Japan. The John S. McCain, the Antietam and the Fitzgerald are all in the 7th Fleet and are based in Yokosuka. The ship involved in the collision on Monday is named after John S. McCain Sr., a Navy admiral during World War II, and his son, John S. McCain Jr., a Navy admiral in the Vietnam era. They are the grandfather and father of Senator John McCain of Arizona, who offered his prayers for the crew.